I just love dragons, and here are some from some of my favorite books and movies like The Hobbit, The Chronicles of Narnia, and How to Train Your Dragon. These dragons from famous books and films are going to be the inspiration for our wonderful dragon eyes.
Now we get to use Model Magic to create the flesh part of the dragon's eye. So cool. So I'm getting some Model Magic out of the bag. I've already cut this one open, and that's the size that you're going to get. And let's just begin by kind of squishing it up or warming it up in our hands. And it's kind of tough when it comes out of the bag. And then we're going to roll it and flatten it to kind of make like a curvy rectangle like this. And we're going to flatten it just a little bit to about this thickness, okay? And we want to cut it into 3 sections, okay? So if you want to kind of use your finger to kind of see where we're going to cut it in 3, we're not going to cut it on the middle. That will be 2 pieces. So we're going to take a third and a third here. And if it's not perfect, it's okay, but we want to try to make it as even as possible. And we're just going to cut through with scissors. And now we have 3 equal parts, okay? Now we're going to use 1 piece at first, and we're going to make the back of the eye, okay? So we're going to make just 1 color, and this will be the back of the eye. So when you're choosing your colors, it needs to be the opposite of your eye. So this one is warm colors. It's got oranges, reds, pinks, and yellows. So that means for my dragon's eye with Model Magic, I need to use the cool colors. These are opposite. For this dragon, the eye was greens, blues, and violets. So that means that's why my eye Model Magic is the warm color. So we're going to use the opposite or contrasting colors. So with your one of your pieces that you cut into 3, you're going to color it. So I'm going to show you a few different techniques on coloring your Model Magic to make it turn a different color. We don't want them to be white. So I like to flatten it out after I warm it up a little bit. Flatten it out, and then if you keep turning it, you're going to get a smooth side. I like to color on the smooth side, okay? So we're going to open up your marker, and you're going to use the tip of not the tip of the marker, but the slanted part of the marker so that more color comes out. You're not going to be coloring with the tip like this. That'll take way too long. Just cover the surface with the marker so that you're turning your marker sideways to use the wide part or the chiseled part. And then you're going to do this on a piece of white paper so it doesn't get all over the table, and also so your clay doesn't get dirty. And then you're just going to roll it up. This will kind of keep your hands cleaner too once you roll it up like that. And it kind of looks like a cinnamon roll. And then you're just going to squeeze the clay together. And you can keep mixing and keep using blue, because after I mix it together a little bit, it needs more color because it's going to be a very light blue. So I could color one side of it, another side of it blue to make it even darker, or I can switch to another color and experiment with mixing cool colors or warm colors together. So I can use greens, and I can use light greens and dark greens, light blues and dark blues. I can also use violets or anything that's in that cool colored basket. And if I'm using warm colors, I'm using anything in that warm colored basket. For the back of this one, I experimented with oranges and pinks, maybe some reds, and I came out with this really beautiful orange color. So I like to use the colors and then mix the clay a little bit by just stretching it, smushing it, and just playing with it until it gets mixed in, and you're going to see less and less white. Now, if you want it to look kind of like a marble or kind of tie-dye, you can leave it like that. That looks really cool. Or you can keep mixing it until it's one solid color and you don't see any white streaks. If you want to leave it with some white streaks, then or when you like the color, then you're going to roll it into a ball. So I'm going to leave a few white streaks in mine just so you can see that technique. And then you're going to kind of roll it back and forth so it makes an egg shape or an oval, not a perfect circle. That way you can make an egg shape on the back of your eye, and then flatten it just a little bit. Pick it up, and it might stick to the paper, that's okay. Okay, and then it needs to be definitely bigger than the eye, and this is gonna be your base or the back of your eye, okay? So it needs to be much bigger than your eye, and your eye needs to be able to rest in the center. I think I'm gonna squish it a little bit further, and if it's not an oval, if it's kind of more of a circle, that's okay. And then you're gonna place your eye in the middle, whoops, and then just let it hang out there. Make sure you turn it the way you want it to go. You want that black stripe to be vertical, okay? And now we're going to play with the next part. I'm going to show you how to build the eye and to make different things on your dragon to make it interesting. Once I rolled out my second piece of clay and I'm happy with the color, I mixed it the way I want it to look, I'm ready to start building my dragon's eye on this rectangular piece of watercolor paper. So I need to put my name on one side and lay my finished piece, or as I'm working on it, on the opposite side of my name. So I'm going to lay my first part here in the center, and don't worry, we're going to pick it up again. So if it's not quite in the center, that's okay, because it needs to. It's going to stick to the paper. We're going to lift it a few times so it doesn't stick a lot. And with that second piece, now we're going to make some eyelids. So we're going to roll it into a smooth sphere. That's a 3D circle. So it's important just to experiment with the different markers. You never know what kind of color you're going to get. I didn't expect to get this. I used a dark purple and a turquoise, and look how beautiful it looks. So whatever color comes out, it's going to be great if you use the colors from the same basket. Now once it's pretty smooth, we're going to flatten it. And then I like to flip it over to see a smooth side, flatten it again. And you want it to be a little bit smaller than your first piece or your base piece. Okay, so that one's a little bit smaller, not quite, so I don't want to flatten it anymore. And then I'm turning it to the smooth side, and then I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to find in half long ways. Let's see, let's cut it this way, because I want some really long eyelids. So if I cut it this way, it would be kind of short. So I'm going to make it so I can even make it a little bit taller. There we go, a little bit flatter, I mean. So I'm going to cut it in half so I have some long eyelids. See, if I cut it the other way, careful, they might stick together. They might be too short, okay? So cut it so it's long eyelids. And then get your piece of paper with your dragon's eye on it. And then we're gonna lay this so it meets up with the top of the eye. So one of the curves needs to meet up with the top curve here. And when you're ready, just lay it down and then press it in place. And then take that other piece, I'm gonna flip it because it has a little bump right there. I'm gonna flip it. Okay, I'm gonna have it like that. Now if it's hiding a little bit, you can open your eye by just putting your fingers in there and separating it. And then I can even smooth down that crack there. And when you're using Model Magic, we're not using toothbrushes or clay water because the clay just sticks together. So once it sticks, it's hard to unstick. So be careful before you place something. Make sure that it's in the place that you want it, okay? There we go. That's the first part of our dragon's eye. I love it.
Here's those directions again with the opposite colors. You're going to take your big piece of clay out of the package, squishy, 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 make sure it gets soft in your hands, and then start rolling it into like an egg shape, and then flatten it a little bit so it makes an oval. Cut it into 3 equal sections, as equal as you can get them, and then take one of the sections and start coloring. Make sure the colors that you're using are opposite of your eye. The eye on the video right now is the cool color, so now I'm coloring my second piece of clay with the warm colors, and I'm squishing it using different colors from that basket if I want to create a brand new color. Once I get the color that I want, I'm going to roll it into a smooth sphere or a ball, flatten it a little bit into an egg shape again, and then I'm going to flatten it so it makes another oval. I want this oval to be bigger than my eye, a lot bigger, so that my eye rests in the center and I have room all the way around. Then I'm going to grab another piece of clay, squish it to make it soft, and then start coloring it using the same colors from the same basket. Warm colors right now because my eye is cool colored. Using different colors until I get the color that I want. If I want white streaks, I'm doing a little less mixing and playing with my clay. If I want it solid, I'm stretching it until the white streaks are gone. Once I've achieved the color, I roll it into an egg again, flatten it gently until it makes another oval. I want this oval. It can be a little bit smaller than the first one, but I'm making sure that I cut it. I turn it vertical like that so it's nice and tall. Do not cut it horizontal. If you need help with that, make sure you ask a friend before you cut. Then it's time to put your name on one side of this white rectangular paper so that we know that the eye is yours. Flip it over so you can't see it, and then place your eye down. One of the pieces that you cut in half is going to be the top eyelid. You're going to press it down, and this time it's going to stick. So you're going to lay it on top where it's even with the top of the eye, and then press it down, and you may want to squish your two eyelids together in the corners. But make sure you can still see that beautiful dragon eye showing through. I love it. Then you're going to carefully place the card inside the bag and put that extra piece of clay. You should have one more piece behind the paper so it doesn't stick to your dragon's eye. Make sure that you try to get as much of the air out as you can and zip your bag closed. I just love these.